Cool. Hey everyone, how's it going? The thousands and thousands of you out there, how are we? Yeah. No, this is just a sort of audience I command more than anything else. Hi everyone, how we going? I'm Alistair. I thought I'd deliberately start from the start with my Oracle VM coming through, or VMware. Let's give it a moment. I swear it wasn't this slow earlier. Hey, look at that. Sound works. All right. Glad you all enjoyed that. Okay, so I'll load my presentation up, but maybe I'll show you some templates first. I thought I'm having a little competition with myself to make the worst looking PowerPoint presentation that I can possibly do. Now, thankfully, running Windows 98 in a virtual environment with Office 97 is doing a lot of the hard lifting for me on that one. We'll just have a quick poke at these templates. There's some absolutely fantastic quality gold in here that I had to pick from because funnily enough I couldn't use those DrupalSouth templates for my presentation today. For some reason they just wouldn't load in PowerPoint 97. What's going on with that? Anyway, so yeah, like way too many options to pick from. Nonetheless, I thought in the scheme of things I'd go with contemporary because it is very contemporary. And for those of you who might know, that is OG Clippy in the corner there. None of this transparent background, Clippy. We'll see if he comes up for anything. But anyway, part of my screen's cut off at the bottom here, so that's not really helpful for me to start the presentation. Does anyone know what the shortcut is to start a presentation? Is the actual full slide thing? Come on, audience participation, who knows? Because I don't. F5. How do I do F5 on a Mac? Slideshow, view show, there we go. Hey, look at that. All right, Back to the Future. That's me. I went back to the future. It's a horrible future, and it's a horrible past day too. But anyway, yeah, I've seen this one recently, and I do agree with this Twitter post. There was a time when we respected the computer, and very much the statement up there, and it wasn't me, but I very much agree with it. Sorry for being nostalgia-baited, but it was kind of nice when the internet was a single, solitary, unmoving place instead of a terror that extends to everywhere. You went to this specific spot to go to the internet. When you left the spot, you left the internet. It was a place. I didn't exactly have this desk set up, but it wasn't too far from it anyway, so yes, that is my time. So anywho, that's my actual title for the presentation. I look back at web development around the millennium, and this was very much my experience, because I want to feel old today. Anywho, so if you don't know me, that's me. I'm having an ice cream. I like ice cream. I'm Alistair O'Neill. I am the Director of Technical Web Services at the Department of Employment and Workplace Relations in the Australian Government. You may know me from a previous life about a year ago where I spent nearly 5 years as the technical product owner of GovCMS. So I'm now back on the customer side. So instead of listening to all the abuse, I get to now be the abuser again. It's a lot more fun, I can assure you. Anywho, yeah. So, a bit more about me. So I actually started out as an electronics kid. If anyone's seen any of these bad boys, this is the old Dick Smith fun way into electronics, and that's where I started. That was really exciting for me. We actually had a Dick Smith store. Go in there, pick up your capacitors and your soldering, and then break it at home and burn your fingers. Real fun times. So yeah, that sort of progressed into a couple of other bits. We got a computer at some point. That was fun. And I went, oh, now I can do that on these big boards and all of these little circuits and all of this sort of fun stuff. That didn't pan out. But anyway, but at a real high level, first experience online, 1995. First home computer, 1996. First email address, 1997. First website 1998. And then after all of that, first home internet connection a year after that. So some of those things maybe aren't in the right order, but that's how they happened. And of course, that Funway into Electronics one there has a beer-powered radio on the front. So yeah, real fun. Not a huge amount of electricity. And yeah, I don't recall how to put that one together, but I know how to drink the beers. So, you know, talk to me about ice cream, talk to me about beer, feed me and drink me, otherwise that works too. Anywho. So, oh, that's right, we were going to do this. Watch as I ruin this. Sorry, it's been so long. I also like, where is it? Come on. It's not a picture. Is it a movie and sound? No. It's some other object. Where is it? Memes, mate. Oh, he's caught me out of my shit posting. All right, well, here we go. So here's our audience participation. Which one? Rainbow? Okay, we've got rainbow. Any other contenders? Slanty orange, okay. One more. Oh, so basically the three in the column there at the bottom there. Okay, so out of those ones, do we want rainbow, do we want wavy blue, or do we want orange slanted? All right, sounds like rainbow wins. Cool. And I like cool shit. Yeah. And if I recall correctly, this is the first time that this text art was actually part of... Oh, wow, look at that. That wasn't the intent. That just happens. That's just the rendering screen in the VMware. So yeah, I like cool shit. That's just part of my job. Yes, another one for the swear jar, that's two. But yeah, that worked out really well. Love it. Back to the show. Oh, cool, we've gone all the way back. Love that. All right. Cool, we've knocked off cool shit. Okay, so this is the one that stands out to me. This was my first experience online, sitting in my primary school library. And of course, this is the oldest version you can get of this website, but this was for the Atlanta 1996 Olympic Games. And we clicked around this because we didn't really know what we were doing, and one of our teachers said, go and have a look at that, that's coming up. And then we jumped around this site, and on the left-hand side there you might see one that says sports and venues. And you could click into that, and you could click into the venues, and then you could actually see photos of seat maps in 1995. I had my mind blown. But of course these pictures are probably about 300 by 200 pixels. They don't exist, they're not mapped. Wayback Machine is good, but it's not great. So yeah, that really sort of blew my mind then. Really enjoyed that, and I went, I reckon I can do something about this. Sick of burning my fingers. Can't do these things with IC chips. And then of course Johnny Giant Hands these days, it's probably been the smart move that actually ended up being software versus hardware. Anywho, so yeah, that was the sort of realisation, and if anyone knows what a Macintosh Color Classic is, that was the bad boy that we ran this one on. Didn't even have a CD drive, it was an external drive, and you put the disc in the caddy, and you put the caddy in the thing, because yeah, Grandpa's on his stories here. That's what it was like. Anyway. And here's my bad boy, my first computer. I've still got this guy. These are photos from earlier in the week. This is a raging fast Acer 486DX4 100 megahertz CPU. For context, my S22 Ultra runs at about 3 gigahertz, or about 3,000 megahertz. So what's that, a 30x? Something like that? So, you know, pretty much, you know, apples to apples, really. A raging fast... a raging fast 8 mega RAM, which, you know, you could do anything like open Windows, play solitaire. 600 meg hard drive. Insane. Never seen anything that big in my life. Bit of Windows 3.11 for those playing along at home. And this bad boy cost $5,000 for my parents. And it was obsolete in about 3 weeks. So, yeah, pretty spooky. And of course, if you look at the back there, there's no, or even the front, there's no USB ports. Those things didn't exist. There's no color coding for anything. We didn't have any of this sort of standardized stuff. But hey, it was mine and I loved it. I've no idea where my floppy disk drive is though. That's where that gap is. And you probably can't see it in the picture, but that is a 4x CD-ROM. That's right, 4 times. Yeah, fast, super fast. And then at some point we got a bigger hard drive and we even put Windows 95 on it. So Good times. Hey, first email address, Yahoo Mail. Oh, launched. Yeah, I was thinking about lunch too, clearly when I was writing this. Launched in October 97 and I signed up at some point in November 97. So my email address is older than some of the guys who are working on my team at the moment. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and you got a raging 3 megabytes of storage. That's more than 2 floppy disks. I couldn't believe it. Using floppy disk for everything. And I still have this bad boy. It only just takes in aggregated data these days, and it's also not very secure, and you get spam all the time because it really just can't filter out whether or not, it's my Apple ID that's been breached from some shitty email address because they've not really done much about it. But I love it. It's still there with me in my heart. And I'm probably due for a notification from it soon anyway. And anyway, this was almost the center of the universe back then as well. You didn't go to Google. Google didn't exist yet. You went to Yahoo, and you jumped through Yahoo. And it was fun because it had everything, and they even had pictures, but you had to wait several minutes for those pictures to load. Ooh. That's a great question, Josh. As far as I know, or at least what I was using, we didn't have a driven by ISP landing space, at least for this. As far as I'm aware, there were a couple that did it. Like AOL was very much like that. America Online, for those kids who don't know what that is, and you'd get 400 free hours. But yeah, outside of that, I never experienced that myself. I didn't put that in. Thank you, whoever did that. And that, kids, is how we surf the internet. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so, but no, we did have a localized Yahoo, which was interesting, but very popular. And there's some real fun stuff in here, like Big Brother 6, so it's not that actually old, but I don't know. Anywho. And then, like I said, my first website was somewhere around 1998. It was very much the Hello World, as far as I recall. That's clearly not a picture of it, because I can't find it on the Wayback Machine. Anyway, yeah, well, we get into that, yes. And of course, most of my stuff back in those really early days I've now found haven't been captured. And of course, that's things like HTML, lots of Flash, as Sean has just mentioned from the crowd. Did love Flash. It was the best way to make things... Oh. You got to stop. Yeah, you got to stop, mate. You're going to reveal everything. But yeah, look, did a lot of HTML, did a lot of Flash, and of course if you're not familiar with Flash, that's basically Adobe Animate these days. So if you'd seen any discourse recently where people were complaining Adobe was going to kill that product, that's used for animation for TVs and movies right now. So that's the sort of etymology of where that bad boy went, because they killed it from the web with Apple dropping it in, 08 or 09, something like that. But, it's history. Memories. Exactly. For those of us that know, yeah. And yeah, look, I mean, maybe our timing was off a bit here, but hey, this is my first home internet connection. This is the modem I had. And because it's also an ASA modem, it's really compatible with your ASA 486, 56k speed, kids. You wouldn't believe this bad boy. And you could do things like with Yahoo already mentioned, you could talk on Yahoo Messenger. You could talk to girls online. And you could also talk to people pretending to be girls online. And it was sweet. It was sweet. Yeah, it really was. Anyway, so yeah, actually the first girl I actually kissed, we met on Yahoo Messenger, so yeah. I mean, it's no Tinder, it's no Bumble, or anything like that, but that's just how it worked out. And not that any of us were doing it. It took about 15 minutes to download a 3 meg MP3, because I'm sure no one knows about that. Yeah. A couple of things I didn't have on here. I actually ended up running our telephone cable through our lounge room, which just sort of dangled out and left it out, and everyone would trip in the middle of the night and not be very happy with me. But yeah, good times, really. And there was a fun one in Australia with TPG Internet called a Night Rider account, where it was just dial-up, but it was free. And it would only work between 1 a.m. and 8 a.m. So you could do the overnight, and you'd have your download manager, so you could get your 20 meg file in that window, and it would be there in the morning if someone didn't pick up the phone at some point or trip over that cable that I'd mentioned. So, pros and cons against all of these things. But yeah, good times, really. And then, of course, as we've already heard the noises, chef's kiss. And then, of course, well, did a bit of this, did a bit of HTML. I think I've missed a slide in here somewhere, but, started building websites, doing it with Notepad. I've got a couple of other tools that I used as well, which we'll talk about a bit later. But yeah, Hello World's in that. You'd put it on your floppy disk. You'd go down to your internet cafe. For those who know what that is, it's literally like a cafe that had internet. You'd get on the computer and you'd put your floppy disk in and you'd log on to GeoCities and you'd upload your files. And then at some point, they'd be there at an address. Quality, not even FTP. Oh, gosh, the memories. And then you wonder why I didn't use the library because the library was free. Well, the cafe had milkshakes, the library didn't, so anyway. It's made me the man who I am today, really. Anyway, so we get from that sort of basic HTML into a bit more of a sort of technical space and we go, PHP. We can do includes, we can link other pages, we can make all this sort of stuff so we're not having to repeat everything. We don't have to change the header on every HTML page and then put them all on a floppy disk and go back to the cafe because you broke something or didn't do it properly or you missed a page. So all of a sudden we're using headers and footers as includes and it's so much easier. You update it once and then you go and stick it off. Lovely. And then for us here at DrupalSouth, we get into this natural progression of what comes out of that. We get to our first CMS. And of course, it's not Drupal at all. It's Joomla. Well, actually, it was Mambo, actually. So started with Mambo in 2005-ish, and then, of course, we forked, because that's what we do in open source lands. And then Joomla was my bad boy for quite a few years there. Ran quite a few tipping competitions, worked with someone on one of their extensions, I think they call them, in Joomla land, to make sure that could all work. It was fun times. It was great to work in a community. It was difficult to have visibility because we didn't have things like Git or anything like that. Lots of just emails back and forth. Still running dial-up. Great. You almost get something done. Anywho, so yeah. And then at some point I actually got onto Drupal. Probably about 2015. Didn't really jump in too quick. But anyway, it's more the fun. But anyway, for those of you who have recently joined or didn't see the startup when we were running Windows 98, here's the stack that I'm currently running today. I've got a 2017 Intel Mac, running a bit of VMware just because I'm familiar. Windows 98 SE, the good version. Chef's kiss. Office 97, and this is the contemporary PowerPoint template. Again, if you missed it earlier, we had a look at some of those very quickly. Found a lovely driver to make the screen size bigger than 640 by 480 because that's about this big. Netscape Communicator, which I can't get running, but was my preferred choice of browser and editor and all of that fun stuff. If you can help me get past the registration, that'll be great. We might be able to use it. I think we're running Internet Explorer 5, which is, it's there. And of course, my weapon of choice was Notepad for a long time. And then of course, I graduated to Claris Homepage. Oh yeah. Move over Claris Works, Claris Homepage was the business. And I loved that because that was, I don't know, operating system neutral. You could put it on anything. You could use the same product key everywhere. You didn't have any variances between the situations. A few Macs at school, a few Windows machines at home. It was nice to be able to transfer things and then continue my work where I was. And of course, the school internet connection was ever so slightly faster. And then of course, we eventuate into Dreamweaver, Fireworks and Flash in the Macromedia days. Rip Macromedia, you were a bro. And as I was explaining to Bryn and the rest of my team last week, I used Swish Max for a while because I had problems with Flash, which was a cheap knockoff and was easier to pirate. I mean, find codes. I mean, pay for legitimately. Anyway, yeah. Yes. That's what I like to hear. Interestingly enough, actually having just the old Google AI thing come up, it actually suggested a lot of keys for said Macromedia products on that list there too. So solved a few installation problems this week versus looking for old where is sites, if anyone's familiar with those. No viruses for me, yeah. But then we start actually getting into problems with this technology stack. So Windows 98's a bit old. You might not have noticed that. I started counting and then I got very sad. But because I'm obviously running this PowerPoint presentation within Windows 98, it got a bit dicey to try and put things on. And then, of course, I didn't obviously install all the extra pictures as per the warning message there, so we've only got a hint of the clip art. So that makes me sad. And then, of course, we've got big picture sizes. If I take a photo on my phone of my 486 and you try and then import it into PowerPoint, it doesn't work. Anyway. And then, of course, we end up with a bit of Schrodinger's hard drives here as well. Oh, which was, yes, regrettably not fun. Right, so picture loading into PowerPoint. Yeah, once you import them, because you import them into that little library they've got there, you can see the Funway into electronics is the only one that worked. A 1.7 megabyte JPEG does not work in 1997 apparently. So, yeah. Well, we got lucky in this instance because I was already pulling down Macromedia products and I opened them in Fireworks and they were about this big, and to then crop them down and then I was able to do them again. But, you know, when we talk about overhead for making a PowerPoint, this is insane. Anyway, I like to punish myself. So mixed bag of joy there. And then, of course, we get into my old hard drives. This is a Western Digital 1.2 gigabyte drive, which eventuated at some point in 1997. And, well, what a surprise. She dead. That is one of the clip arts that is not on the CD. It's already installed, so you can see where I'm using these things from. So that's bad news. Option 2, my 1.6 gigabyte drive from middle of June 97. Well, we're getting a theme here. And of course my 2 gig bad boy here from also 1997. Ruined. So all my plans for pulling up all my legacy project files, my projects for Flash or Swish or anything like that went out the door very quickly. So sad. Very sad. How are we going for time here? God, I could talk all day. Anyway, not good. Anyway, looks like we were licked, really. So, in the scheme of things. Also, that green jumper that's in that photo and the one you might have seen me wearing is not an amazing jumper. And that's me at a Canberra Raiders game. I don't support the Raiders either. I go to boo them. So it's just a coincidence more than anything else. But ice cream's good even when it's raining. Anyway, so great example here. Let's make some backups, people. We'll store our stuff online. Let's move them between different pieces of media. Let's not hold off and just hope till the end of the day that you can't get these things done. So that makes me sad. Clippy, have you got any advice for us, mate? No? All right. Yeah, let's set some timings for our slideshow. That'd be good. Because we're nearly at time already anyway. Anywho, I digress. But what I did, because why not, I did a bit of stuffing around. Because, of course, Sean ruined it all. And apparently that's how you don't open a folder. I love Live. Live is great. Has anyone ever opened a folder by double-clicking? Because I apparently haven't. All right, cool. And what about my computer? Does that open? No. Lovely. Well, can't catch a break. Look at that. And that is why we should not be living in 1998. That sucks. Because, yes, as Sean rightly articulated, I did have a lovely one which uses FrameSet. So if you aren't familiar with FrameSet, you would make a page, and then you would set your relevant frames that you'd want. So you would have a parent page with that, and then you'd say, I want this area as my main area. I want my sidebar for this. So that was before you'd try and do it with PHP includes or anything like that. So you could just move around and that one would stay. And they'd look terrible. They're a bit like an iframe really in the scheme of things, or a precursor to an iframe. Yeah. And then of course another one, we had a fun one where we had Marquee, which of course if you're unfamiliar with Marquee, but you can do in CSS, and Bryn, I'm sure that's part of your package from your talk, where you scroll your text across the screen. Fun. Do you have Blink in there, mate? I can do it. Oh, brilliant. Mate, I can't open a folder. What are you talking about? Do you think I can make a Blink in CSS? Yeah, it sure is. Anyway. Yeah, and of course, so Marquee was a doozy one from Internet Explorer, and then Blink was one you could get in Netscape Navigator. It was just fun. It was just real classics. Anywho, can I get out of anything here? All right, well, I can't open any of my demos. That's sweet. But hey, look at that, gang. What time do we have to finish? 4 o'clock. Questions. Why is this my personal hell? Because I made it so. Yeah, well, that too, right? Well, how about we look at some other stuff then? I did actually pull some stuff out because that PowerPoint was hell to make with all of those problems. How good is this? This was my favourite one. This is flaming text. 2000. Now, if you're not familiar, that's the GIMP logo there. Now, GIMP only came out in 98, but when you start searching for GIMP online in any year, yeah, you'll learn a few things very quickly. And of course, there's a bit of evolution with that one. For some reason, we went white, and now we've got a dragon. A few changes there. And of course, this bad boy is still floating around, but like everything else, it's now inundated with ads and crap everywhere. But you can still make all of the cool things. I don't know if this is the one that has it. No, we can do it with cool text though. We'll do cool text. Cool text has been just as long. This was so amazing. You just make these logos and you put them on everything. Like, this was the 90s, gang. This was the 2000s. Look at that. Cool shit. And now it's on fire. Make that make sense.
Can someone put that into Canvas?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll put that in the Flickr deck as well. And of course, everyone's favourite, if you've never seen it, Space Jam from 1996. This bad boy is still online. Now that looks pretty cool for 1996. You can jump through it and let's have a look at the Pressbox shuttle. Oh, there's no Space Jam news at the moment, guys. That's really disappointing. But anyway, behind the jam, yeah. Oh, look, and this one's got frames set. Look at that. We've got frames across the top. See? It's amazing. And then, of course, if we look at the magic behind that, that's all tables. And they say you couldn't do it with tables. It's the only way to do it. Come on. It's just that simple, guys. Transparent backgrounds, different sizes, will be good. Just that easy.
Does anyone have a question?
Sorry, was that a question? And very quickly, we'll skim a few others. Babylon 5, gang. Oh, wow. Geez, spot the nerd in the room. Yeah, same type of thing. Lots of space energy, lots of cool stuff. Oh, and this is a good one. Video games. You could look at video games online too. Yeah, it does need more repeating backgrounds. I'm disappointed because clearly this is a 640 by 480 because then it starts looping across. What a shame. Oh, and here's a cool one. This is what people used to do with things like Flash, Sean. They'd make all this cool stuff and they'd load it up. That'd be so pretty. And now we don't do anything fun anymore design-wise. What do you do? Anyway. Oh, and here's one. Here's one. If you know, you know. Turn of the millennium, there was a group called the Heaven's Gate. They did a big suicide pact in the lead up to Y2K. But don't worry, their website is still online. So should we... overview of present mission. Let's have a look at that. Wow. Yeah, good times, really. So, you know, what a time to be alive. You know, just the creativity, just the do whatever you want, you know. We don't have all this corporate branding or these fixed frameworks and all this sort of styles. We can just talk about our suicide mission, you know, because, you know, the away team are evolutionary level above human admiral and captain, sorry. Yeah, good times. So anyway, look that one up when you get home. Ooh, and Ask Jeeves. Jeeves actually recently just died, gang. They killed him on the 1st of May this year. But if you didn't know Ask Jeeves, it was very much a friendly natural language processing search engine. So you could actually just type in words and questions, which was not common when this guy went out. And importantly as well, there is a checkbox here. It might be hard to see because of the screen. Check here if you don't want to see sex questions. I mean, are we looking for sex questions or are we looking for sex answers? I'm not sure. Anyway. Yeah. But look, this was what it was at the time. This was Demos and this is what Yahoo was, and we're at time.
Yeah. Nicole's watching now. We've got to wrap up.
All right.
Keep it clean.
Let's call it there. I'm sure we all enjoyed that. Please...